Hey Google, turn the volume on everywhere to 10%. There we go. Hey, thank you so much for joining me. I'm the cannabis industry lawyer. I got a very interesting thing. I had a call today from a guy. He's not a client because it wasn't about the industry, but it was about something that affects the industry on a huge level because of the criminalization of cannabis. So we're going to have a very special episode of the Cannabis Industry Lawyer. And if you're liking it, give us a like, give us a subscribe. Stick around until the end because that's how I'm going to tell you to get in touch with me. And if you would like to have a free, complimentary 1-hour strategy session with me about your business, well, you're going to have to watch from the end. What are we talking about today? We are talking about how somebody on parole with a medical card in one of the many medical states stays compliant, because very often it's against your rules of parole to piss hot or test positive for controlled substances, but at the other end of the spectrum, you are complying with that state law. So how does it come out? Can your compliance with state law trigger a revocation about the parole? And of course, this is my disclaimer, I am a business lawyer. If you have a contract about something that has gone wrong, or like you have a business strategy that you're trying to work out, I'm your guy. Never been a criminal attorney. I was just having a conversation today with another attorney in my office about how, the jury's there just to find facts. They aren't there to sentence and all that other stuff with crimes. And I'm like, wow, damages, breach contract, putting somebody in status quo ante. Different world. But let's get to it. We're going to talk about the top 4 things for medical marijuana on parole. And just to highlight the difference between the criminal lawyer and me, the industry lawyer, I put an E at the end of parole because when a contract is ambiguous, you are entitled to start bringing in parole evidence. If there is an integration clause on that contract, oh my God, you guys are tuning out. Anyway, an integration clause just basically means that everything that's in the contracts within the 4 corners of the contracts are the entire deal. There's no other side deals. That's it. That's where parole evidence comes in from my practice. But if you have been on parole, or papers as it's called sometimes, different area of law, similar analysis, the first thing that you need to do, and by the way, this is so important, I really have to underline it, check your state law. They are all different. I know the medical marijuana law in Illinois does protect against discrimination. Now, does that allow a parole officer to still give you a random drug test, and then if you piss hot for only cannabis, revoke your parole? That one's tough. Is that anti-discrimination? Is there discrimination there if you were testing positive for cannabis and you have a medical cannabis card, so all you were doing was complying with medical treatment? That's it. It's not like you were trying to it's not like you were being stupid in the sense that you were going to smoke all the grass in front of any authority figure and flout it and use it irresponsibly. No, you were legitimately using it medically. And then because of a random drug test, it's in your system. That's one of the terrible, unless you're on the law enforcement side, beautiful things about cannabis. It's exceedingly easy for you to test positive for one of the metabolites. Your body doesn't recognize it as a toxin or a poison. It's not trying to push it out. It just kind of lets it hang out there because, well, you do the math. Check your anti-discrimination aspect of your medical marijuana law in your particular state. It may be against the rules to discriminate against you for your usage of medical marijuana. This goes into your number 3 of the top 4. Don't be proud. If you're using it medically and you're on parole and it's a legitimate medical use, you're a humble motherfucker. Don't mean to curse, but I'm just saying that you're using this because you need to use it, and it's helping you on so many levels. Well, allow it to help you. Don't allow it to flaunt it. Now, this is hard because the stuff works and you get proud. And you have to be really careful about pride, because as the old biblical saying goes, pride goeth before the fall. And that, think back about all the times you got knocked off your high horse. Why were you on a high horse? It's not because you were high, it's because you were proud. And so be careful about that. Just if you're using medical cannabis and on parole in a medical cannabis state, again, I am a cannabis industry lawyer, I'm a business guy. Business, property rights, they're all state law based. Crimes, also all state law based. So, you're still trying to comply with the same laws that you would be if you were in a business, or if you are trying to avoid the repercussions for violating the criminal laws. Don't think that you need to lord over your PO, that you know more about the cannabis laws than they do or anything like that. Just keep it as under the radar as you can be. Seriously. Why are you shaking up that hornet's nest? Do you want to go back? No, of course not. Do you still want to use your medical cannabis? Yes, because it works, and it's going to help you from relapsing or doing something dumb. Don't do nothing dumb. Especially, don't use no double negatives on a YouTube in 2019. Okay, double negatives. You can still use them. Now let's get to the fourth one. Oh my gosh. I didn't know. I did 4, but I gave you a bonus 5. We'll get to the bonus 5 later. Number 4 is the defunding of the federal mandate. You are on parole for an infraction, and you're trying to make sure that you stay compliant. They might say, your PO might say, but it's still federally legal, so you can't do it. And that's when you can, while still not being proud, just be like, oh, how interesting that you said that. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Section 542 of the budget, which needs to be updated if Congress ever comes back, and then we'll have a new section of the budget if we ever get a government that's open again. Well, how interesting that the Department of Justice has been defunded from doing any prosecutions against any state or territory's medical marijuana program. This is one of the things we advocate here. We think that medical needs to be dropped, and it should be any state's marijuana program. So the states can occupy the field and create their own laws and effectively neuter the Controlled Substances Act that has cannabis as a Schedule I substance. But if cannabis is a Schedule I substance and there's not one thin dime to enforce that law, then you kind of have like a purge scenario. It's like, well, yeah, sure, that law's in the book, but for right now, we're not enforcing it. You might say that it's illegal on a federal level, but it's not, because they've defunded that law. So how good is that stop sign over there if there's no money for a cop to pull you over for that stop sign? Again, be careful, because that gets you into the pride thing, and you're trying to not have to get hit for any type of parole infraction. You're just trying to comply with your state's laws when it comes to your medical marijuana rights. And then number 5, bonus. As states continue to legalize adult use, very often what follows are these expungement statutes. And so the expungement statutes allow you to get rid of some cannabis-related crimes depending on how they're written. I'm sorry that I can't give you a cut and dry, black and white answer, but that's how laws are, especially the cannabis laws. They're very murky. We know what direction they're going. They're going toward liberalization. We're fairly certain on the science. It's not like cannabis is magically going to turn into heroin, despite it being regulated on a federal level as if it is heroin. What will probably happen is that will change in the future. It may take some time. But these are the top 5, not 4, things that you can do if you have a state medical marijuana card and happen to find yourself on parole. Again, check your state laws. I'm an Illinois and Wisconsin lawyer. I'm not a Oklahoma lawyer. Anti-discrimination, that's built into the Illinois state law. Can you make the claim then? That gets into like the bleeding edge of law where you're really not sure what it says. Don't be proud, be humble. You're just a patient, you are just trying to be healthy. You're not sitting there trying to lord over your politics over anybody, especially your parole officer. And then the defunded aspect, if somebody's like, well, it's illegal at a federal level, you go, is it? Is it really? Because I'm a state law compliant medical marijuana patient, and there's not been a thin dime to do anything at the federal level since 2015 to stop me. Now, I'm not a big city lawyer, but, whatever. And then, of course, the expungement laws that are coming, and they usually follow the full adult use. And as I am in Illinois, I hope to be able to bend the ears of some of the politicians that I know and explain to them all the various things that a really good cannabis law needs when it comes to not just the criminal aspects and how that might play out, but also the commercial aspects. And maybe one day I'll help draft a uniform marijuana commercial code. Maybe. Either way, if you've enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. If you have any questions about cannabis and especially the cannabis industry, how you can get involved in it, ask a question in the comments or visit cannabisindustrylawyer.com and it's very easy to get in touch with me. Just fill out one of the forms, call me, whatever. Hope to talk to you soon, and I really hope you're having a great evening. Talk to you later.